Hello, this is a photo of me, Paul Card. I'm the former president and CEO of 151 Research Incorporated. Our main product and innovation were marketed as GrainFizz. Tech Manitoba asked me to tell you about the story of our startup and the path we took to where we are today. I took that to mean that I'm here to tell you about why I'm here to talk to you. So it's a bit of a snake eating its own tail. This is a photo of the University of Manitoba where I spent a large part of my life. I took some technical degrees in computer science and computer engineering. I also honed my ability to play cards and drink a lot of beer. While drinking beer, I met these guys, Colin and Ian. They are now both professors in engineering, and as it turns out, they're still good guys to drink beer with. They had a thesis advisor, which they still collaborate with, Joe Levetri. Colin, Ian, Joe work together in the electromagnetic imaging lab that Joe leads with a long list of very smart students. Among many of the innovations Joe and his team have worked on is a very cool technology for medical imaging. Unfortunately, Joe has also been stuck to go camping with me on several trips, which he regrets to this day. This is a photo of a healthy lunch. As humans, Joe and his students would often get together and eat lunch with colleagues at the university. Over lunch one day, Joe and his team were discussing their work and the need for volunteers to have their forearms imaged as part of a data collection program they were doing, improving the medical imaging system. One of the colleagues at the lunch was Jitendra, pictured here. He's a professor in biosystems and still part of the department today, and the perfect candidate for human testing because he has very thin forearms. Joe and his team had already found people with thicker arms, but Jitendra rounded out the required sample set. Here's a photo of one of the many systems developed by Joe and his team. At the time, he was creating 2D slices of a person's forearm. The system works by sending out a radio tone, like the radio you listen to in your car, from each of the antennas pictured in this diagram here. So those are all 24 antennas. One of them sends a signal out and the other 23 receive, and then they round robin around. When they project a signal out, what you get is a waveform like this. The two things they're interested in is phase change, so the waves getting closer together, and attenuation, the peaks and valleys getting closer together. Ongoing lunch discussions, Jitendra asked Joe and his team if this same system would work on a large scale, like a grain bin. At the time, Mohammed, pictured here, was just starting his thesis and thought this would be a cool problem to explore with Joe and his team. We applied for a large number of grants, provincial and federal. Most of them we got, which is what got us started, but the majority of the bootstrapping came from the University of Manitoba and specifically Joe's team in his lab. Starting a company, you needed a logo, so we got some logos, and you need office space. We rented some office space from our good friend Ken Van Stralen, pictured here, and we started building prototypes. This is a 50-gallon oil drum that we turned into a small-scale grain bin. See all the wires like you did on the previous one, and inside the bin you can see these prototype antennas we built. Schematically, the system works by antennas that are mounted on the inside and a control box. Very much like the medical imaging, there's a series of antennas mounted inside the grain bin on the outside walls, and they project through the mast to collect data about what's happening in the grain pile itself. From that data, you can measure various properties. The most important one is looking for spoilage detection. And through very complicated data collection, these are some of our initial results, you finally end up with something that looks like this. So these are regions that are spoiling within inside of a bin that we can detect very early on. We started growing our team as we're getting good results and quickly had to move out of Ken's space. So we upsized to my garage. Not that my wife or family were that happy about it, but we now had a bunch of nerds in the garage. We had to hire some accounting staff. We started attending various trade shows and ended up with some prototype design. This one looks like a bowl of spaghetti, but worked well. Not the prettiest or the cheapest way to do it, but provided us a lot of good results. We built a number of testing rigs. This one's in my backyard. We did some unplanned harsh weather testing. By accident, Winnipeg provided us with some very, very harsh weather testing. Took a number of very sketchy road trips and did some field deployments. Not everything worked as planned, and some days it went really bad. We did do several hotel room-based repairs, I should say upgrades, that may or may not have happened in various places throughout Canada and the US. But along the way, we met some good friends that helped us with our sales and marketing. We attended more shows. We got to see some interesting crops. These are pistachios. Our offices got bigger. We moved out of my garage after 3 years. We very quickly needed to add more desks as our team grew. We went to more trade shows, moved offices again as the team kept growing, and ended up with some very tight and drastically improved designs. We moved offices for one last time, finally ending up back at the University of Manitoba in the Smart Park, where we continue to be today. We partnered with a very large agricultural company, AGCO you may recognize, or at least some of their sub-brands. We ultimately sold 151 Research to AGCO in late 2022. We now work with farms and commercial operators from small to large all over the world, doing projects to protect and maximize global food chain supply. We've been to some very large installations. We've worn interesting fashion accessories while eating lunch. And we're still located in Winnipeg, where we started. We're always hiring. The team continues to grow, and we have the backing of a large multinational now. So if you're interested in cool technology, we're the place to be.